watch.
Let's be a little defensive. Let's get into the draft right now and see what they pick.
Yeah, as we get into the draft right here, Wolves especially needs to come in with a better game plan. They need to be talking and discussing during the draft right now exactly what it is that they want to be doing, because it did seem like they weren't always on the same page at time. And if they can't do that, it's going to be in trouble for them. But getting the Celeste and the Tony, that's a great start. Qlash, unfortunately, opting for that first pick Lyra yet again. But hey, with their mechanics yesterday, with Leon on the Lyra, full confidence and faith in him to be able to play it to maximum level.
Yeah, and it's with the Tony pick and the Celeste. You know, you mentioned banning away the Krull, making sure you don't get the Krull Celeste over. It's almost surprising to me that Wolves Esports actually banned the Krull themselves, because they would have had that opportunity. Because we've seen so many teams put the emphasis on the Lyra. Let your opponents pick it. Get yourself that Krull Celeste combo. But obviously, Tony Celeste is still going to be a very strong duo. It depends on, will it be a Captain Tony or a Carry Tony. We've now seen both. We saw the Carry Tony do pretty well early on, but kind of wasn't able to have the impact they needed overall. But there's that Baptiste coming through. This has been the other pick that we haven't really talked about it too much, aside from the fact that it's been the weapon Baptiste, but so many teams have been running this Baptiste in almost every single game. I believe we've seen him now.
He's such a good combination of both crowd control and damage. It's the weapon Baptiste has the damage in those basic attacks. He has the increased damage from his heroic perk, but he also has the crowd control from the Ordained, from the Fearsome Shade, and that's something that Qlash is gonna have to watch out for. Whenever Alpha uses that Prime Directive to go in and get into the middle of these team fights, Baptiste is going to be there looking to slow him up, shut him down, and make sure that he is not able to get out any more damage after that first initial engagement.
That's going to be a key to this game, I think, just from seeing half the draft finished. That's going to be one of the major keys to this one. But this Catherine coming through, I think Catherine is a very strong counter to someone like the Varia or even the Taka, who rely on being able to get themselves out with mobility. If you stun them up, prevent them from being able to use, if you prevent a kite, and if you prevent an extra, if you prevent the dash coming out from Varia, cancel out her ultimate, things like that, you can make life very, very difficult for your opponents if you can time those merciless pursuits.
I'm really starting to like the draft coming out of the side of Wolves. There is so much crowd control that, sure, some of these heroes are very mobile, but with this much crowd control, a form of stun, fear, whatever it might be, on every single hero on the side of Wolves, that's something that Qlash is going to have to be really careful and really aware of. They do have themselves on their hands of Taka. So if Taka is able to use that Kaiten absolutely perfectly to dodge a lot of this crowd control, Wolves is going to have to be careful, but it's definitely going to be a back and forth battle.
And not only that, but you mentioned all the crowd control. There's still a lot of damage with that crowd control. Baptiste, a lot of crowd control, but can also build a lot of damage. Same thing with Tony or Catherine, whichever one of those ends up in the carry role, they can still output a lot while still having that massive amounts of CC. So it becomes very difficult to contend with. The reflex blocks are going to be crucial, but this is something that I've been waiting to see, the Vox. We have seen Vox banned quite frequently, but we're finally going to be getting him on the rise.
Yeah, he's definitely a very strong hero. He can output a lot of damage. Very effective at kiting back, negating a lot of the health. Typically, he's building that Poison Shiv. We've actually seen a lot of CP Vox in 5 versus 5. So depending on what direction Qlash wants to go with that, only time's going to tell.
Yeah, that CP Vox got a nice little buff right before 5v5 came out that a lot of people have been enjoying.
I'm sure they have. All right, the picks are in for our final European match of the day. Flash, we've got to keep an eye on someone. Who do we keep our eye on from Qlash?
We definitely want to make sure we're keeping an eye on Leon. That was the same person we were looking at yesterday. It's a very deep roster for the side of Qlash. I'm the Doom is another one, though, that's absolutely phenomenal. He was dominant in that carry role yesterday. I'm not really sure which hero he's going to be looking for. Maybe it's going to be that Celeste. Maybe it's going to be that Kestrel. We're going to have to find out once they get onto the Sovereign's Rise.
Yeah, this is a guy that made a name for himself on the Kestrel last year, but showed that he could play more than that as well. But over on the other side for Wolves, I'm actually going to be keeping an eye on, not this game, but for the future. They have a player on their roster, Redix, who, if you've been around the Vainglory scene, you know who Redix is. He used to be part of G2. He used to be a big name player for G2. He was one of the best Scarf players in the world for a time, but he has been kind of away from competitive Vainglory for a while. He's now on this roster, but he still has not made a start yet. And I'm looking forward to seeing, what are they going to be doing with him? Is he just still getting back into the swing of things? Will he be getting put into the starting roster again? If Wolves struggle, do they make that change? I think Redix, for a while was one of the more underrated players in the European scene, and I would love to see him get another shot on the rise in the 5v5 format.
Yeah, now do we know why he took a brief break there?
There was a couple of different reasons. It was, their school was one, performance was another, but it was
go to school.
I just really hope that we do get to see him again because, again, he's one of my favorite players to watch.
And good for him finishing school. All right, let's finish chatting and get to this game. This is our last EU matchup of the day.
Here we go, the final European matchup of the day. It will be Qlash going head-to-head with Wolves Esports. Qlash looking phenomenal yesterday in their victory over Team Queso, whereas Wolves definitely struggled a little bit. So we're going to be looking for a bit of redemption, looking to show that that wasn't all that they have to bring to the table, but this is going to be a difficult matchup. There's a lot of talent over on the side of Qlash.
Wolves Esports pushing in the mid and then now rotating up. Actually going to come right through Qlash's jungle here. They're looking for aggression. It wouldn't be EU if it wasn't. And they are going to be able to secure.
Feels weird to say, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Going to secure this healing treant, which I think is a great pickup. When you're jungling, you get gold experience and that heal, which can be so important. So Qlash looking to come down here and take the crystal orb and be able to secure at least that in response, which I think is actually a really good pickup for them.
And they're going to be able to grab that away from the members of Wolves. But again, it's all about answering, seeing what your opponents are doing, recognizing, okay, they're invading our top jungle. We need to go invade their bottom jungle so that we don't fall behind. So excellent job answering the early movements from the side of Wolves. And the Qlash able to keep themselves right on par. So now this matchup in the mid lane, we've seen it a couple times now. The Celeste going head-to-head against a Varia. Usually we end up seeing these captains rotate over. That's why Leon is now moving in here in order to stick around with his mid laner. But you see the rotation early on from Wolves going up to top. It's going to get spotted out by that scout cam placement from Disowned. And he's going to be able to quickly clear away the cam that was just put down by Preseason. So saying pretty much just thanks for the 5 gold there. It's not exactly the greatest placements. If you put a scout cam within range of a turret, the turret does provide vision of the cam.
Yeah, maybe just a little FYI there that they needed to kind of learn for themselves for the first time. But I do like the approach of trying to be aggressive with your vision war. I think that's so impactful into the game, and it's kind of hard to cast it and explain it as it's happening because it just kind of happens on the side. But very, very important where you get your vision and trying to get your vision on the enemy side because with few exception, the enemy's going to be rotating through their jungle first, right? They're going to be apprehensive. So if you can get an idea if they're not there, then hey, they're somewhere else. You can start to deduce that.
I'm looking forward to seeing as 5v5 continues to evolve. I want to see players start putting scout cams in more creative positions because there's a lot of spots where you almost know that your opponents are going to have a scout cam, so you just drop one in the same spot, clear theirs out, just like we just saw Wolves do there in that bottom brush. But once you start putting them in more creative spots, such as where that blues cam was just placed, that's not a spot that's going to get checked all the time. It will get checked every so often, but you want to get as much value out of your scout cams as possible.
What do you say, Tasty? The triple cam in the bush is not creative enough? That's pretty creative.
I mean, it takes a long time to clear out at that point, at least, but
a little bit extra time. Very aggressive play here from Wolves. I love what I'm seeing here, going all the way in and taking the Weapon Orb. Weapon Orb is probably the most contested objective in the jungle in the first 5 minutes, so I think it's always a huge thing when you could try to go in and take that away from the enemy team.
But again, the only issue I have with that is they're not really preventing the same thing from happening, is they're actually getting a ton of damage here onto Netolette, but the rotation down from Qlash has actually secured them first blood. I'm the Doom moving down and being able to pick that one up. But look at the top side of the map. You have Alpha in the Wolves jungle. So yes, they went in, they stole the weapon orb, but they now just gave up a kill and they've lost their weapon side of the jungle as well. So when you make those aggressive moves, you still have to be prepared for your opponents to be doing the exact same thing.
I do agree with you, and I do like how when you see yourself losing an objective, or if you get vision or information of that, or if you don't even know, just try to be aggressive constantly, and Qlash doing a good job. And because of that, they've got a nice 1,000 gold lead.
And Qlash definitely going to be looking to go aggressive and focus on those objectives once again. You see Leon finishing off the Storm Crown as his very first item. That is objective-focused building right there. And once they get onto a turret, you're going to have those Storm Crown procs coming through and just helping to melt through those turrets as quickly as you can.
Yeah, interesting and exciting to kind of see someone who's so famous as an aggressive, mechanically skilled carry to go into that captain role, because he brings so much, I think, mechanical play and theory crafting that you may not see a lot from maybe some other captains throughout the league. And this, I really think, puts Qlash in a great spot.
Yeah, and there's so many Storm Crowns already built on both sides of the Rise. You have Kigaza going Storm Crown first item on Tony. You also have the Taka finishing off a Storm Crown as his first item. So lots of objective focus is planned for these two teams. And it's really just going to be about who can make those moves first. The Lyra Sigil snipe. That's the second time we've seen that here today. I'm the Doom. He's in a lot of trouble. He's got that ult going, but the taunt will actually be enough to kill him. And that's going to allow Wolves now to get their first kill on the board.
A very early ultimate from Varia in this game. Like, only at 5 minutes and 45 seconds when that ult was ready to go. Using it right away. Unfortunately, he had to sacrifice himself. A really bad position for him.
Skirmish still going on down here in bottom. Kigaza and Chrisior going toe-to-toe with Carol and Nettoilette. It looks like Nettoilette and Carol getting a little bit of the upper hand there in terms of the remaining health, but now this is Taka. He's caught between a rock and a hard place here, trying to escape, trying to use the help from Leon, but can't get into the portal in time. Now Leon, he's going to be followed through that portal, but doesn't look like he's going to be chased too much further. So again, a lot of aggression from both teams, and not really either side getting a clear-cut advantage.
Simi, great job on the Celeste, just kind of zoning that whole area for the Taka. I love to have, when you have AoE damage that comes out of a hero like that, you really have to just be kind of just figuring out how you want to put your position, all those heliogenesis, because you don't want to let that Taka get away. It was so low and he didn't get away. Yeah, we just saw Nettoilette 1v1 against Kigaza there, just using the range advantage that the Vox has, and oh my goodness, the damage to the Batiste, taking him down in a hurry. And again, this is what the Taka is going to be able to do. Here we start to see the damage onto the turrets. First turret is going to be falling here. That will go the way of Qlash as Carol and Nettoilette again focusing on the bottom side of the map. We've seen so many teams use their junglers to focus that half of the map, try and get that turret down first and free up some more rotations. Yeah, nice job. Disowned also building that Storm Crown. So this double Storm Crown here for the side of Qlash. They really want to be aggressive. We could start seeing them just go, wow, bada boom, just throwing Carol off.
Throws Carol around, but doesn't do enough, and that's actually still going to be double kill for the side of Qlash. They don't want to go diving up under the turret, but finding 2 quick kills there, and we have Ghostwing on the table. It looks like that's what they're going to be looking to pick up.
Yeah, sometimes using the Tony ult is not the way to go, because while you throw everyone around, sometimes you throw people in better positions. I think we're going to see a refinement of that ability as we go on through the season, through the preseason, into the regular season, where these pros start to kind of figure out, all right, when do I use it, where do I use it? Because it really changes absolutely everything if you use it on just a completely different person in a different location.
Yeah, it can change the course of a team fight, but as you mentioned, sometimes it can save a member of the opposing team if they get knocked far enough away and can continue running or just get into a better position for some of their abilities. Just Disowned, trying to protect this turret, doing what he can, but that's a lot of damage coming through there. It's going to be the Varia ult will actually chase away. Look at the damage coming down from the Anvil's hammer. That is a great ultimate. And look at where Qlash is. This is what we saw from yesterday. They are just shoving this wave so hard. They're onto the Armory at 9 minutes, Dragonborn. This is out of nowhere. They're just suddenly look over and they're pushing this bottom lane deep into the enemy base. They're not even going to get the kill onto Alpha. And the Armory has fallen 9 minutes and 13 18 seconds, a full minute faster than the earliest Armory we saw yesterday.
Absolutely. That is something that teams got to be cognizant of, and they need to, you know, they were basically had an opportunity to push top. Wolves Esports did, and they had to recall their third because they saw that push coming in from the bottom. I think at that point, you need to completely recall your entire team. That split defend, these teams need to defend better. They really do.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about on the desk is, you know, being able to defend objectives is just as important as being able to attack objectives. And Qlash, they just put themselves in a position where they can force objectives, and Wolves just were not ready to answer that whatsoever. You saw how far they got down the wave, or down the lane before Wolves were even trying to answer that push. And Qlash more than happy to just take those objectives if you're going to hand them to them.
Yeah, and vision's a big factor of that. When you know the rotations or the position of the team, if they're pairing up, you can start to kind of predict that push and call it out. You can see great vision by Qlash, which is why they could just move and jump into position to start taking down these objectives so early. And another fantastic catch-out kill. I mean, great job. When you have a Lyra as well, you can just reposition your team so effectively.
Yeah, well, this is also another issue that we've been seeing throughout 5v5 is when a team starts grouping up as 5, like Qlash are doing here, you cannot be by yourself. You have to be with your team. Qlash, they are just diving on through these turrets. They're finding multiple kills. That's already 3 down. They haven't lost anyone just yet. Kigaz is going to be falling next, and that is 4 members dead as they just got the respawn on Batiste, but they're full health. Their health bars are barely even touched as they go underneath the second turret, take that one down. They're onto the second Armory. They're looking for that kill into Batiste. An ace coming through as they take the second Armory. This is very likely the game. There are going to be respawns here, but they just aren't going to be able to do enough.
No,
Qlash absolutely dominating this game. 11 minutes, Dragonborn. We saw in the update notes there's going to be Black Claw spawning at 12 minutes into this game. That would still not be long enough for Black Claw to show up in this one. That was absolutely incredible. Qlash just flipping a switch at about the 8-minute mark and just ending the game 3 minutes later. That was incredible.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Another absolutely great game to end.